Hello, everyone. I'm John Evans. Welcome to another episode of One on One. When American Idol was the most watched show on television, Emily Miner gave it her shot. She tried out for season 7 of Idol, and she got a golden ticket and a trip to Hollywood. She didn't make the finals that year, but what Emily did get was confidence. The Wilmington native, Laney High School graduate, has taken that confidence, moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and carved out a country music career that's still going strong. I talked to Emily by Skype from her home in Nashville and asked her how things have gone 10 years after American Idol.
You know, I have really been blessed. I have. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It has not been easy. I always say that being a musician or a singer is not for sissies. I mean, it is really, really hard just because you are working for yourself and you have to go out and you have to hustle and you have to get those shows, get those gigs, meet people. If you are not a people person, this business is not for you. And, you know, of course, you are responsible for your own paycheck. So if you're not playing, you're not making any money. So, I mean, it is hard, but I've been really blessed that I haven't had to have any kind of part-time jobs or anything like that. I have been able to provide for my husband and I at full time as a singer. And so, yeah, it's been really hard and challenging, and I've learned a lot and I've really grown a lot. But we've come out good. We really have.
Now, I notice, and following you ever since we talked to you after the Idol interview, and I want to get to that later, but, I noticed going on your website, you're playing Houston in October, you're playing Chicago in November, you're appearing later this month at the Roanoke Rapids Theater near home with Sammy Kershaw. So, I mean, how much are you actually touring and going out and actually playing?
Okay, so usually we're kind of in the middle of a transition. Usually the summer is our busiest time of year because we play a lot of festivals, which we're still going to be doing, and I love playing the festivals. But recently we have partnered with Elevated Talent Group, and they're just an agency here in town, and they represent the college market. So those Houston and Chicago dates are colleges. I'm getting ready to do a Texas run for like 10 days in October, and they're all college universities.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll be going to Colorado for a few days as well in the new year. So, yeah, normally I'm used to the summer being really busy, and pretty much every Thursday through Sunday I'm playing a festival or I'm gone somewhere. And now it's going to kind of flip-flop, and my summer won't be as busy, but my spring and fall will be jam-packed, which I'm really excited about.
I was going to say, will that take you out a little bit more? I mean, if you're playing colleges, then you're playing, that I would guess, and tell me if I'm wrong, you're playing bigger places than maybe some of the smaller events in the Greenvilles and some of those other places.
Yeah, and I love doing the festivals back home and some of the smaller stuff because that's where it started.
Right.
That is they're my people. They were there before anybody else, and so I love being able to go back home and play for them and see them. But I'm definitely excited about expanding, and I've just never even been to Colorado, so the fact that I get to go and I get to perform while I'm there for new faces is really, really exciting. I'm so pumped about it.
Now, what do you do? Now, you said as we were, trading emails and stuff, getting ready for this, you said you had a couple of things you had to go to and commitments up until noon. So when you're not playing and when you're not traveling, what kind of things are you doing? I mean, are you practicing? Are you writing? What are you doing?
All of it. Sometimes I'm writing, sometimes I'm rehearsing, sometimes I'm just doing normal wife stuff like trying to go to the grocery store and catching up on the laundry and whatnot,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, they think just because you're not on stage, you're not, working. If you're not on stage, you're not working. And that's so not the case. This is a big machine and it takes a lot to keep it moving. I've got to allot time every day to plan out social media or to do interviews like this. I mean, there's always something that it's so much bigger than the, 45 minutes or an hour that you are on stage.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you have to practice. I guess you have to, do you set apart time to write? And are you the kind of writer that you need that time, or will an idea come to you out of nowhere?
A little bit of both. I try to allot one day a week in the afternoon to just sit down because I think writing is such it really is a practice skill. The more you do it, the better you become at it. And I can tell if I have not done it in a while that when I sit down with an idea, it might come a little harder or take a little bit longer than normal. So I do like to have some time in the afternoon to really sit down and kind of just write something, even if it doesn't evolve into anything, just write something. But I'm also totally the kind, like, at 10 o'clock at night, I look at my husband and I'm like, oh, I have an idea. Go get your guitar. We have to write right now. And he's like, really? I'm exhausted. I'm like, I don't care. We have to do it now.
Yeah.
So it kind of just depends.
Yeah. So whatever it hits you, I guess you get one of those ideas. You were in the chorus at Laney High School. Take me back to those days, because I know that, my kids were in band and they love music. And were you a lover of singing and performing even back then? Did you have a thought, I want to do this and I want to be a star, or did you do it just because you liked it?
Of course I liked it. And I joke that it's all I know how to do. I don't have many talents. I don't know how to do much, but I know how to sing and be on stage. And I've been doing it since I was wee thing. 3 years old, I used to stand on the fireplace hearth and like that was my stage. And I knew I loved it and I knew I could do it and I knew I was good at it because people told me I was good at it.
Right.
But I never thought it was a real job. I mean, that's why I went to school to be a teacher, because I just thought this isn't real. And being a professional musician or, being the next Reba or George Strait, I mean, that's like winning the lottery, and that just doesn't happen for normal people. So I have to have a backup plan. And it took meeting my husband, and who had been doing it professionally for 10 years before we got together. It took meeting him to learn that you don't have to be playing the dirty scuzzy bars or George Strait, that there's a middle there, and that's what we're doing. We're not playing the 4 hour long for tips anymore kind of shows, and we're not always playing arenas either. And I just never knew that there was really that middle ground. And I think a lot of people, they think you have to be one way or the other. You're either really, really struggling or you're Grammy nominated, and that's just not the case. There's a middle ground there.
What do you remember about going to school in Wilmington and Laney High School and being in Wilmington as a young girl and then a young lady and performing at the chorus? You're smiling already even before you start talking, because you must have some really great memories of this town.
I tell everybody that and I think everybody thinks this about their hometown, but I really do have the best hometown. Like, I will go to war with anybody over it. And, I love, first of all, just the fact that Wilmington is just a beautiful place. You've got cornfields on one side and the ocean on the next. And I think that it is just a perfect marriage of both worlds. And so just the fact that it's beautiful alone is why I love it so much. But I mean, everyone has just always been so supportive of me. And, growing up and being in chorus, I was in chorus even in elementary school and middle and, always singing. And it's kind of funny though, because in high school, I very rarely ever like auditioned for a solo or something. I just kind of thought like, I'll never get it. So I'm just going to stand on the back row and do my thing. I'm not going to try to have a spotlight moment, because I just never thought, even though I knew people told me I was good and I knew I could do it, I think I always kind of sold myself short. And like I said, it kind of took going off to college, and it definitely took the Idol experience to go, whoa, okay, maybe I do know what I'm doing, and maybe I do need to explore this a little bit more.
Were you in Best Foot Forward at Laney High School?
Yeah.
You know who the host of that show may have been at the time, don't you?
Yeah. I'm familiar.
That still to me is one of my favorite events that I do every year, is Best Foot Forward in New Hanover County.
That is so much fun. And actually, one of the only solos I ever got in high school was for Best Foot Forward. And I completely forgot about it, but I love that program. I think it's great.
Was that one of the first times you performed in front of a large crowd like that?
Yes, I had sang the national anthem at some Hammerhead soccer games.
Oh, cool.
And that for a while, that was like, I think there was like 2,000 people there that day. So that for a while was like the biggest crowd by far. But yeah, that was probably one of the first early performances where it was, really a packed room.
Yeah, and I tell everybody uh, I don't want to get too off topic, but one of the things that I noticed in doing it for almost 20 years now is especially the little kids when they're on stage and you see them concentrating so much over what they're doing, and then they get finished, and after they get done, there's about a second and a half of indecision, and they're waiting for what the crowd is going to think of what they do,
Right.
and then the crowd erupts in applause and
Right.
everything, and then you cannot put a word on the smile on those kids' faces. That
Right.
is one of the most heartwarming things that I have ever done. And was it the same way with you at Best Foot Forward?
Yeah, and actually that feeling never leaves. I mean, I still step on stage now, and after I've sing the first song, there's that moment of, are they gonna like what I just did or not? So that never, as a performer, that feeling never leaves.
And is there a word you can put on that? Because it's better than happiness. I found it gets more toward joy in the
It
eyes of those
really,
kids.
yeah, it really is. I tell people being on stage is just like another world. Like no matter what happened that day, no matter what happened 5 minutes before walking on, the second your feet hit that floor or you hear the band tune up or your name is announced, I mean, it really is just an alternate universe. I can't explain it. It is a high like no other, and it is. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, that's what, yeah, and I can never, I haven't found the word yet, and I've been doing it 20 years. I haven't found the word to describe that. I will, I hope, before too long.
Yeah.
But it really is an awesome thing to watch as far as to the side of the stage, and it's kind of cool that you still get that even after these many years.
Oh, totally. I mean, there's even when people I know who have come to see me, who have been listening to me for years, if I sing a song that I know they've never heard, it's new and I'm testing it out for the first time, there's always that, are they going to like it or did I just completely mess up?
Yeah. Now, after you graduate Laney, you went to ECU. What made you try out and go to Charleston? I know you told me that your mom drove you down there, but you're a college kid. You were in chorus. Everybody was always so supportive. So, what made you say, I want to go to Charleston to try out? Was it just the idol aura at the time?
I think that, and I did season 7, so at the time I'd been on TV for 7 years,
Yeah.
and I everyone had always asked, why don't you do this or have you done this? And I never had an answer, and I think that was it. Was finally someone asked, and I thought, I don't know why I haven't done it yet, and okay, well, obviously this show is going to have longevity. We're in the 7th year and I don't really have an answer. So let me just go and do it. And even if nothing pans out, I will have said, well, I tried or I did it.
Hmm.
So that was really it, was that, finally I just thought, I don't know why I haven't. And so I just called mom and said, let's do this. Let's go to Charleston. And she, of course I was an adult, so I didn't have to have a parent with me, but I'm an only child. And I thought, let's make it a fun weekend. And even if it doesn't work out the way we hoped, we'll have gone to Charleston and had a good time. And that's what we did.
I asked you a lot of questions about this in the times that I've interviewed you in the past. When did you feel the train really start rolling that you were doing well in Charleston and that you were going to get an opportunity? Was it after a first song? Was it after a second song? When did it hit you?
Really, when I got that ticket, because I think I tend to do that anyway. I'm such a my glass is half empty person by
Yeah,
nature.
right.
I tend to sell myself short sometimes, and so it really took like having that piece of paper in my hand to go, okay, this is happening. Like now I'm going to go to Hollywood, and
Hmm.
then being in Hollywood was when after round, they kind of, weed out every day. And every day I'd make it a little bit farther. And that's when I was kind of like, whoa, what? Like, I never thought this would happen.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
that's when you discovered that country was for you rather than singing Alicia Keys. That's the line I don't think I'll ever forget you telling me,
Yeah.
is that you said, do I need to sing Alicia Keys? And
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever forget that line as long as I'm in this business. That's what you told me when I interviewed you at your parents' house after that whole
100%.
experience.
Yeah, and I still to this day, when people ask me about the Idol experience, it was very confusing, because a lot of people would be next, the person next to me might get called out for extra interview time or, what have you, which would then make me think, well, they're a pop singer or they're singing rock and roll. Like, is that what I need to be doing? And I was able to walk away knowing that even if that's what they were looking for, that I was not pop. I'm not a pop singer.
Mm-hmm.
I love rock and roll. I love pop, but that's not what I wanted to do. And so of the entire experience, that was the most valuable thing I walked away from, was going, nope, I'm a country singer. I want to be in country music.
Yeah, that's what you told me at that time. And it's proven now that it's 10 years now since Idol, and you've had a career in country music. So, you didn't almost, pardon the pun, but you didn't sell yourself to be on TV or to be an American Idol alumni. You're Emily Miner, the country singer.
Right. Yeah. And I think, yes, of the entire thing, that was by far like the biggest. I could never thank them enough for me to be able to learn that, like, the country music is where my home is.
When did, or have you gotten confidence in your Emily Miner, not the American Idol performer? And there's a difference there, if you understand my question.
Yeah, I think just over time, honestly, because I do think with the show it's coming back now,
Right.
but there was a couple of years that it was no longer, and I think that that star started to fade a little bit, which I was kind of almost like, I am so grateful for my Idol experience, but there was a moment where I was like, you know what, I'm ready to break apart away from this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd see people at shows who'd say, oh, I voted for you. And I was like, well, no, you didn't, because I didn't get that far. I didn't say that to them, but,
Right.
things like that. And so I thought, you know what, this was really great. And it opened a lot of doors. But because I was not a vital cast member on the show, I think I was ready to kind of separate the ties and just establish myself as, yes, I did this TV show, but there's a lot more to me than that, and I need to start working on that.
And I imagine you start standing a little taller though too. You kind of you carry yourself better because I would think there's a confidence level in you that you kind of shed the Idol thing, and you're now Emily Miner, who's just released an EP, or Emily Miner, who's got a song on iTunes, that kind of thing.
Totally. And I think, I think how you get to fame or success, I don't, whether you win a talent show or you really paid dues and, we're on the road and just working late nights or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that one way is better than the other, but I do think there's a part of me that's kind of like, I think I'm really glad that I didn't get that far. I didn't win, because I really didn't know a lot about the music business. It really took moving to Nashville and grinding out every day to respect it and to say, oh, this is how this works. And I think that I just don't think that was the plan for me, was to win a talent show. I think it was to move here and really hustle. Yeah.
And you go to ECU, you get your degree, and then you go to work on Emily Miner, the self-titled EP. When you look back at that now, it's been 5 years. Mm-hmm. When you look back at that, what do you think of that product, of those songs that are on that EP?
I still love those songs. I think my songwriting I think I have a certain sound when it comes to songwriting. I tend to lean towards melodies of the same family, or even songwriting topics of the same thing. So I'm really proud of it, and I had no idea what I was doing. And even with the second EP, I still didn't know what I was doing, and I'd been out here doing it full time for a while. And actually, my husband, he's my guitar player, and
right.
So we've been talking about wanting to record again. And I was like, you know what, if we did this, I would be ready. I've done it twice now. I feel like third time's the charm. I would go in there. I would be really confident and comfortable. I would have, because normally I kind of leave all the production stuff to the producer. I don't really comment on, this is how I think the guitar should sound, or anything like that.
Right.
And I think going in now would be different. I think I'd be like, well, I really want it to sound kind of this way. And
so when you talk about you didn't know what you were doing, what do you mean? It wasn't really an Emily production. It was somebody else and you were just singing?
No. I mean, I just had never been in a studio.
Okay, all right.
I know how to sing. That's it. I don't know anything about why a guitar should play this chord over that chord. I don't know why we should take a fiddle solo here instead of a steel guitar. Things like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know how to make a record. I knew how to sing the song.
Right.
I knew how to write it. I knew what I could do vocally, but I did not know all of the other parts of the machine. And now that I've done it
Yeah.
2 times, I'm like, okay, I think, I could walk in there and go, I know we've been talking about putting fiddle on this, but I'm really feeling like I want mandolin instead. Or I think that I could finally, confidently, and comfortably have a voice about all the rest of what it means to make a record.
Does that come from working so much on the different projects, whether it's yourselves or your own or somebody else's project that you may have heard something? Hey, I like that. I want to
Yeah,
use it if I get the chance.
yeah, I think that listening to things that inspire me and going, oh, I really like that. I'd like to do that one day on something of my own. Or I think also just being with my band and learning, what makes a good drummer, or, what makes a bass player really great. I'm able to now have lived it and experienced it to say, okay, this is what I'm looking for when I go back into a studio again.
For anybody who's listening to this who has aspirations to record, is it an expensive production to go in, cut an EP, even cut one song? I mean, I don't want you to, tell me how much you pay for this or that, but give me a sense of how expensive and extensive it is.
It's not an easy question to answer because
Okay.
it is expensive. Do you have to go in and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to make a record? No. Should you, if you don't have a record deal or you don't have a team behind you financially supporting it? No, you shouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You also shouldn't go record it in someone's basement for $50. So there really, again, there's kind of like a middle ground. I was really fortunate that the producer I worked with, his name is Scott Trayer. He produced both records. He's great, but he's very well connected in the industry. So he was able to just make personal calls and call, Reba's steel player and say, look, I've got this side project I'm doing with a girl, Emily, and I'd like you to play on it. And obviously they didn't charge me what they would charge Reba,
Right.
because I don't have a record label behind me footing the bill, but I still got the A team. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it really is, like I said, you don't want to go in and kind of do it super super cheap, because it's not going to sound good, and then you're not going to be proud of it, and you're not going to want anyone to hear it.
Right.
But if you don't have an industry team behind you, like, it's just kind of stupid to go out and spend all your money on a record.
Funky Feel Good, Fall in Love with Me. When you go on iTunes or when you go on some of these other places, YouTube, what's your favorite Emily Miner song?
My favorite Emily Miner song is Something I Was Missing. It's not on iTunes right now because we're talking about releasing it as the next single.
Oh, cool.
So it is on an EP. You can get it online at emilyminer.net. You can purchase it on an EP there or at a show.
Mm-hmm.
But that is by far my favorite song. I say all the time, if I had one song to sing the rest of my life and give the world that was just a true representation of me, that would be it.
Because you told us, I'm sorry, you told us that was kind of about Wilmington, wasn't it, when we talked to you in 2015?
Yes, I wrote, Wilmington really inspired it. It was about, going back home. And actually, this had happened. I went home just to visit, and I did not realize how deeply I missed Wilmington.
Mm-hmm.
I was also kind of in a rut in my career and not really knowing what was going to happen. I joke that 80% of what singers do is convincing themselves to get up every day and do it. And so it was one of those times where I was like, I just don't know what I'm doing and I should quit. And I went home, and being home felt so comfortable and so good. And I was like, wow, I did not even know that I missed Wilmington or my family that much.
Right.
And so that's where it started. I just had no idea I'd been missing it. And so I sat down with my husband and I said, I want to write this song about that, and kind of being in a place that you had no idea you were really longing for. And then it evolved. It evolved into the last verse is about my faith and my relationship with Jesus. And so that is my favorite song. Like, on a platter, here it is, world. This is me. So.
Best time so far in a 10-year career? Toughest time so far in a 10-year career?
Oh gosh, I don't think we have enough time for toughest.
Well, how about sharing maybe, I mean, was there a downtime when you said when you came home, you were really kind of, it was really comfortable here. That must have been a time when it was a little difficult, but was there a tougher time when you at any time questioned whether this was really for you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I could wake up tomorrow and go, I don't know what I'm doing. I should, I need to hang this up. I think there is always a voice inside that is like, there's no way. Just keep hanging on. You can do this. I mean, it really is kind of a mind game, because living in Nashville, I tell people all the time, if you wanted to be a heart surgeon, it would be like moving to a town where everyone is a heart surgeon.
Yeah.
And so and I think being on social media too, you are constantly seeing what other people are doing and how their careers are evolving. And it's very hard not to get fixated on that and wonder, why not me? But I have to remind myself that they could very well be looking at what I'm doing and asking themselves the same thing.
Well, that's a great
Why
point.
does she get to do this and I don't? So I have to just kind of mentally check myself sometimes and just, hey, snap out of it. Also, I feel like whatever anyone else is going through has no definition on what I'm doing. I'm going to get what God wants me to have no matter what. Even if I screw it all up, I'm going to get it. So, I have to just remind myself that. So there's always tough times because it is such I think too, you have to be really vulnerable and that's hard. And you put yourself out there for the world to see. And sometimes people don't like it. And
Yeah.
sometimes they tell you that. Sometimes they get on YouTube and they say, I don't think you're a good singer. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get those calls too after a newscast when somebody says something or I say something, somebody hears that you say. I mean, it's difficult when you're trying to do your best to the public because and now it's social media. Good gracious. 15 years ago, they had to actually get up and call you. Now they can just post it and, go back to where they were.
I know. It's rough. It's a rough game. But, just kind of, I got to play an arena 2 years ago, and I got to play it at ECU. So my first arena show at my alma mater was like just incredible.
Yeah.
I think, I think all the good things are a high because there's always, even if you're playing a smaller festival or back when I was playing, dive bars, there was always something that happened that night that made me go, you know what, this is exactly why I do this. It might have been someone just saying, I loved that song, or a crowd singing back my songs to me, so I think it's harder to pick one really great moment because there are so many. But yeah.
What's next? What's your plan? What if I look on the? I know that you're going to be, in Roanoke Rapids Theater later this month, and Houston October, Chicago November. But what's next? What's on your to-do list?
I set goals every year. I set year goals, I set 3-year goals, and I set 5-year goals. And I kind of revisit and figure out what I accomplished or what I didn't. And I think in the near future, just like I said, we've entered this new kind of college university market. And so I'm really excited about exploring that. I'm going to get to travel places I've never been before. So that's going to be happening soon. We are talking about wanting to record again. So I don't have any kind of like time frame on that. It could be a year, could be 2. I don't know, just whenever the moment is right. But I definitely want to get back in the studio. I've been writing a lot. I want to get that stuff tracked and recorded. And then I think like long-term goals, ever since I was little, all I've ever wanted to do is play the Grand Ole Opry. And that's always on my goal list is to do that. And I think I'm in a moment in my career where I'm reevaluating what works and what doesn't, or, what I truly want to say and what kind of sound I want to put out there. Country music is evolving and it's getting away from that rootsier traditional sound that I grew up on, which is what I love. And I want to keep that sound alive.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going, how do I do that in a world now where everything is kind of pop driven or lots of computers, less steel guitar, more computers, or drum tracks. So I'm trying to figure out how to be that artist that keeps that alive and keeps it relevant.
Who inspires you?
Dolly Parton is my hero. Yeah, I mean, everything about her is just amazing to me. Not just that she's a great songwriter and vocalist, but she's just such a savvy businesswoman. And I mean, I just read her biography last year, and I couldn't put it down. It was amazing. So she's definitely one I'll look up to.
Well, I've taken a lot of your time, and I know you're very, very busy because you're working on, your website. I see you on Twitter all the time. I see you on Instagram, and I think the cool thing that you post about your career, but I think you also post very inspirational things, and it shows. Again, I've known this for a while, but it shows that there is a deep relationship that you have with Christ, but it also shows that you're a very faithful person. And even talking to you today, it's keeping the faith alive that there's a better tomorrow once you open the door, once you get up in the morning, right?
Yeah, thank you. I think especially in our world with social media, it's easy for people to fluff up what is happening in their lives, and everybody wants to put their best portrayal out there. And that's just not real. Some days it's hard, and some days it really stinks, and some days it's amazing, and I want to scream that from the tops of my lungs too. And so it's really important to me that people are able to see the real person. That, Emily Miner on stage is a lot of fun, and that's me, but it's also kind of a character. And that when I'm not on stage, I'm a wife, and I'm figuring out how to do that the right way, and I'm, human. And I want the people who follow me to see that, so I try to be as honest and open as I can to them.
Well, as far as the marriage thing, I just want to give you a hint. Today is my 32nd wedding anniversary, so I'm still learning.
Yeah.
32 years later.
So I guess I'll call you in a few more years and ask what the secret is.
All right, tell everybody where they can catch up with Emily Miner.
Yeah, you can follow me on all social media platforms at Emily Miner Music. And then online, you can check our tour dates at emilyminer.net.
Roanoke Rapids later this month. Let's hope we get her back in Wilmington for a couple of dates soon. It's so good to talk to you again. And I know it's, you're not going to sugarcoat it. It's difficult, but you're doing well. And we hope to see you soon in Wilmington. Emily, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, John. I always like talking to you. Thank you.
Emily Miner has released 2 EPs of original music just in the past 5 years. And she has concerts booked for the next several months all across the United States. You can find her merchandise and her concert schedule right now by going to emilyminer.net. If you think you know someone who would be a good interview for an upcoming episode of the podcast, send me an email at jevans@wect.com. And if you like what you heard in this episode, please leave a rating or a review. That'll help us bring in even more listeners. I'm John Evans. Thanks for joining us for this episode of One on One.